We just saw a new Congress sworn in. We just had that midterm election. It's early to talk about future elections, but of course, the direction of both parties depends a lot on who's leading them now and who people think could be leading them soon. Kind of like if you're at work and you have a boss, but you know they're just about to retire, you might start looking around at how your workplace is going to run differently and who's up next. And that brings us to an update on Nikki Haley. You may remember that she was Trump's UN ambassador. She is now planning to announce a presidential campaign very soon. And that would break her own pledge not to run against Trump. She's clearly changed her tune.
I would not run if President Trump ran. And I would talk to him about it.
Are you going to run for president?
Well, I'm not going to make an announcement here, but when you're looking at a run for president, you look at two things. You first look at, does the current situation push for new leadership? The second question is, am I that person that could be that new leader? That yes, we need to go in a new direction. And can I be that leader? Yes, I think I can be that leader.
And can I ask questions and answer them and interview myself? Yes, I can do that. Am I that person? Yes, I might be that person. You can see the political speak here. Of course, what's hanging over all of that is it's a very different world than one where she felt she had to publicly say she would never run if Trump were running. So again, relevant to the current Congress and the current debates, that people are less afraid of him. Same for Ron DeSantis, who ran all his ads and built up his entire profile by being a mini Trump and now kind of flirting towards some criticism.
Well, look, what I would just say is this. I roll out of bed. I have people attacking me from all angles. And I'm happy to say, you know, in my case, not only did we win re-election, we won with the highest percentage of the vote that any Republican governor candidate has in the history of the state of Florida.
He didn't say the T word, but he implied that he's a winner and Trump's a loser, and that was, of course, the person brought up in the question. Now, Trump, for his part, isn't striking a note of confidence. If you were the former president, you could just say, I expect to be the nominee, period. But instead, he's talking about what will happen if he doesn't get the nomination, and maybe he'll run a third party. That is, as we say, weak and low energy. But if you were the loser of the last election, you might be worried about being the loser of the next primary. And if you have to have a plan for what happens if you're the loser, well, then you start talking about third-party runs. Now, that's the Republican side. There's also polling that shows an appetite on the Democratic side for a challenger to President Biden. Take a look at this. And this is just the facts, just the numbers. Should Biden run again? You ask the whole country, overwhelmingly people say no. You ask Democrats, who are excited today about the jobs numbers and other things, well, in recent polling, the majority of Democrats say no. So it's very early, but you take it all together and you see out in America, if people listen to you, the voters, the citizens, there's a lot of interest in some new candidates other than the former and current president.